Hello, and you're with the Emerald Bolt, and today we're going to be looking at another theory episode. Today's topic is the Crystal Empire an annexed state of Equestria, as in the two sisters ruling of Equestria and therefore a unified pony kingdom? First is first though, we must define what annexation means. Annexation is defined by Wikipedia as the political transition of land from the control of one entity to another. It is also the incorporation of unclaimed land into a state's sovereignty, in which most cases is legitimate. In international law, it is the forcible transition of one state's territory by another state, or legal process by which a city acquires land. Usually, it is implied that the territory or population being annexed is smaller, more peripheral, and weaker of the two merging entities, barring physical size. Now for our real-life example. I was trawling the internet to try and find an annexation example, and I found a rather interesting one that I thought would be rather relevant to most of the American viewers who watch my channel. In this case, we're going to be looking at the annexation of the Kingdom of Hawaii back in 1893. This will be an abridged version of events, otherwise I will be going on about this for the next 20 minutes, and we don't really want to be listening about that for the next 20 minutes. The Kingdom of Hawaii was originally ruled by the Kamaheshti or Kamaheshan dynasty. I tried pronouncing that one a few times and did not get it right. They ruled from 1795 through to the annexation of Hawaii in 1893, so much as establishing over 90 consulates and legislations in multiple seaports and cities around the world for a consecutively long period of time. Through a small amount of military pressure, the United States government forced the kingdom to surrender, the Queen to relinquish her power, and a provisional government to be established, with the grand total casualties being one wounded on the kingdom's side. Hawaii remained a territory of the United States until 1959, where it was then incorporated into the United States, being its last sovereign state. Governments from around the world acknowledged this annex of Hawaii, and little more has been ever said about it. Hawaii has been, well, for a long time now, a registered and legal state of the United States for well over 40 years now. And this is our real-life example we're going to be using to compare with the Crystal Empire. Going off the show, there's enough comics to keep me read for the next year if I was to read them. The Crystal Empire was ruled by King Sombra for X number of years until he enslaved his people. Princess Celestia and Princess Luna, along with the equestrian military no doubt, attempted to save the peoples of the Crystal Empire from Sombra's terror. What resulted is in the show not explained, but the Empire and Sombra were banished to something for the next 1,000 years until they re-emerged, and the show went through the process of Sombra being defeated and Princess Cadance and her husband's shining armor subsequently becoming the nation's rulers, and thus the entirety of the Equestria was amalgamated into a single state entity. Now, was this the same as Hawaii, the real-life example? To me, it seems like it was. The Empire and Hawaii were both ruled by a monarchy where both were then taken over by a larger power, in one case for sugar exports, in the other case to save the populace from a totalitarian dictator. The reasons are different, but the means of which they occurred are relatively similar. Both populations went from sovereign national governments to annexations of a separate power, though what will happen to the empire may very well be different from what happened to Hawaii. Hawaii was encompassed into the United States. The Crystal Empire may very well revert to being an autonomous nation in time. It's not likely or foreseeable that the princesses wish to rule the empire forever, since they seem to have gotten along with the empire previous to Sombra without any issues, and we know that the ponies really don't have any interests in seizing power for themselves. They're quite happy just to live their normal lives without too much difficulty, I suppose. Cadance and Shining Armor could very well be seen as an intern government, a pair of figureheads to assist in the transition of the nation back to a sovereign power. Whether this actually happens or not is speculation. We don't know. It's possible that Princess Flurryheart may very well go on to be the Empire's new leader after Cadance and Shining Armor either step down or pass away. Now I'd like to include some theory on how the Crystal Empire currently functions. Now I can thankfully hand over this task to Dulcet Tones, who has quite happily agreed to do a little cameo appearance for this episode. Take it away, Dulcet.
Thanks, Emerald. There's a lot to consider with the makeup of the internal structure of the Crystal Empire. For starters, there are likely 6 districts, one for each arm of the Crystal Snowflake, each governed by its own district mayor. There's also a Department of the Interior, which manages all the Crystal Palace's resources aside from the Royal Guard. One very important part of their infrastructure would be the Department of Expansion, which deals with the construction and expansion of additional land after the population and subsequent crystallings increase. However, because of their 1,000-year banishment, many other departments have been getting a much greater focus, specifically the Department of Education. Crystal Ponies need to be brought up to speed with current events. The history of the world is largely unknown to them, and while Cadance herself usually handles all diplomatic arrangements with other countries, a Department of Cultural Exchange was created as well. This is to allow for the Crystal Ponies to experience other cultures. Because of their banishment and subsequent lack of knowledge of the outside world, this would cause most Crystal Ponies to be reclusive, which is why we rarely see any outside of the Empire, and this specific bureau is to increase exposure to other cultures, be it through exhibitions within their borders or working with an exchange program. This is why the Equestria Games were held in the Empire, and why there were delegates at the Grand Pony Summit.
Thank you, Dulcet, for that. That was very insightful. You can see Dulcet's channel by looking in the description or at the end of this video. There will be several links. Also, I would recommend visiting this video here on the screen. This is the last episode of Equestrian Politics, and it explains how elected officials may very well work in Equestria. This can be applied to the Crystal Empire. So, we come to our conclusion. Is the Crystal Empire an annexed state of Equestria? The answer I would lean towards would be a yes. I think Dulcet would agree with me. The simple fact is that the Empire was a separate, unified, independent state from the rest of Equestria, its own sovereign nation. Its sovereignty was taken away when the defeat of Sombra occurred. Yes, he was a totalitarian dictator, but he was the rightful totalitarian dictator, if that's such a thing, I suppose. What we can't take away is that Cadance and Shining Armor are now the rulers of the Crystal Empire. They will either relinquish their control over the Empire, or they will stay on to remain its leaders for the rest of the foreseeable future. Whichever one occurs, we don't know. We'll find out. But I do believe that Equestria is now a unified nation with the annexation of the Crystal Empire. Thank you all for watching. Those who got to this part, type 3 in the comments. I'm always keen to see who got this far. I do intend to start producing, hopefully, again in the future, but my motivation is just kind of lacking at the moment. And thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like, comment. I like having discussions in my comments, it's very interesting. And I will see you next time. For now, you've been with the Emerald Bolt and Dulcet Tones. Good day.